Hello and welcome to this episode of the Gene Keys Exploration. My name is Shelly Szigli and I am a Gene Keys guide. I'm excited to be sharing with you an exploration of each of the gene keys, starting from the first gene key, moving our way all the way through to the 64th gene key. Disclaimer, these episodes are really just about sitting with the energy of the gene keys and literally, at times, reading from Richard Rudd's book. The gene keys are so vast and complex, and as a guide, I don't remember much of the information, so we're going to be exploring these gene keys together. You can find my work at www.genekeyrecordkeeper.com. And other than that, I just hope you enjoy the show and enjoy this exploration. Please feel free to share it, leave us a review, and tell us how this exploration was for you. All right, everyone. Hello, Shelly here. Welcome to this exploration of the 15th gene key. So it has been a few days since I have recorded a gene key exploration. It is my birthday. Well, it was my birthday yesterday, and I was soaking in that energy. So I'm excited to come back to recording these gene keys and making our way in the most beautiful, natural, tangible way through the 64th gene keys. Now, if you're finding yourself here and you listen to this gene key, I invite you to go back and listen to other daily explorations. And also, if you don't know your personal gene keys that are connected to your hologenetic profile, please go to www.genekeys.com and begin your profile there. It's fairly easy to do, and once you know your own gene keys, then you can follow along with these explorations a little bit more connected, and it's a beautiful process, so I invite you to do that if you haven't already. Now, the 15th gene key, I'm reading the book of Richard Rudd's Embracing Your Higher Purpose, the Gene Keys. The 15th gene key is an internally flowering spring, is what he has written down here. The shadow is dullness, the gift is magnetism, and the Siddhi is fluorescence. Now, I'm going to just begin by reading from the book here about the shadow of the 15th gene key, dullness. So the title of the first paragraph is Another Day in Hell. The 15th gene key is the key aspect of a complex set of genetic blueprints in human beings known as the Ring of Seeking. It is this codon in your genome that initiates your evolutionary journey from being unaware of your true nature to your eventual awakening of an expression of divine form. All your struggles, pains, agonies, triumphs, and ecstasies are written here in this codon. Because, like the Divine Comedy, it lays down the geography and topography of your journey towards awakening. Within the genetic structure, the 15th gene key plays perhaps the most vital role of all the gene keys. In a nutshell, it keeps us human. To be a human is to be a battlefield of opposing forces and frequencies, some of which pull you towards heaven and others which try to pull you downwards towards hell. Humanity is the bridge for consciousness to work out these many conflicting currents. The 15th shadow of dullness describes a low-frequency human attitude of being alive in a body. It is the fear of the ordinariness of life. One of the key elements in Dante's hell is repetition. Transgressors and evildoers are frequently depicted locked into endless cycles where the consequences of their evil deeds are played out over and over for eternity. One of the greatest fear of the 15th shadow is just this: to be locked into a repeating rhythm that never changes. And yet the huge irony, which Dante captures perfectly in his great work, is that life does not indeed consist of endless repeating patterns and rhythms. As you enter more and more deeply into the mysteries of the 64 gene keys, you will begin to realize the truth behind the latest revelations and suppositions of physics and quantum theory. That the universe appears to be a hologram in which the same patterns are repeated again and again in infinite fractal variations. This 15th gene key is about the diversity of organic life. The 15th shadow highlights the dullness of life. It represents an attitude of human awareness, and indeed of animal and plant awareness. Although in the case of other life forms, one might not use the word dullness. A dog can sit on a doorstep for a whole month doing absolutely nothing and never be bored. Indeed, when we humans observe animals, we often feel a sense of envy that they seem to have no worries, and that their lives are so simple. With our self-reflective awareness, we humans are capable of something truly magical, and at the same time quite terrifying. We are capable of attitude. Only the human neurocortex makes dullness possible. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to keep reading here. There's quite a bit on the shadow. The 15th shadow manifests in human behavior whenever a person's spirit feels low or for whatever reason. One of the great causes of shifts in your attitude is light or the lack of it. For example, by changes in the weather. On a cloudy day, gray day, all human beings experience subtle changes in their physiology, as do animals and plants. It is how you interpret these changes that dictate your attitude. No human can escape the dullness of existence. It is all simply a matter of how you deal with it. It is in fact a deeply human experience and is at the same time the core of our basic psychology. It can lead to extreme states, depression, violence, anger, rage, and frustration. The moment your perspective shifts, whether because of your inner or outer light, the feeling of dullness can actually become incredibly exciting and vibrant. We can see how this occurs at a higher frequency in the 15th gift, the gift of magnetism. This word gives us a clue that helps us to understand the true nature of what we are calling dullness. It is based upon the lack of magnetism or polarity. Dullness is neither the top nor the bottom of a spectrum. It is actually right in the middle where there is no polarity at all. Herein lies the rub. Polarity is never dull. Rage is not dull. Violence is not dull. Only the lack of any charge, positive or negative, is dull. The last truth that the spectrum of consciousness is not a straight line with a negative pull at one end and a positive pull at the other is a startling insight. What the 15th shadow is telling us is that all shadow states have at their core the same dullness, and that the shadows themselves only emerge according to how we respond to the dullness. Okay, so interesting. The dullness is, in how Richard is describing it, the lack of charge. So it's neither being overjoyed or neither being enraged. It's just feeling like nothing. There's no charge. There's no motivation. There's no electricity running through the person that is living in the shadow. Now, remember, with all these gene keys, whether they're in our hologenetic profile or not, they're all relevant to us in some way, shape, or form. So this shadow of dullness is anybody who's been in the apathetic state where you just find yourself not able to care, not able to get excited, just feeling a lack of, well, anything. So it's interesting because he talked about how animals are in this state that when we observe it would seem quite dull, but yet when we watch them, we understand and know that there's a lot going on with them. And I feel like once we get into the gift of this gene key, we're going to see how that works. The gift of magnetism, how it can pull us and lead us and guide us into these natural states of bliss. So the repressive nature of the shadow of the 15th gene key is empty. When dullness takes hold of somebody with a naturally repressive nature, it manifests as emptiness. This dullness is very different from boredom, which has a certain restless, energetic quality hidden within it. This kind of emptiness is very close to depression and in fact will inevitably lead to depression. Such a person has at some level given up. It has a kind of negative acceptance of resignation. It is the acceptance that has only gone to a certain depth within one's nature and has become stuck. Repressive natures are fear-based natures, and such people get stuck because at some level they become afraid of fear itself. This causes the locking mechanism within that leads to depression and other disorders of a similar nature. Such people can only escape these states when they discover the fear that is preventing the emptiness from moving deeper inside of them. As soon as we have seen, once someone allows this primordial emptiness to saturate them entirely, it is no longer experienced as something separate from them. Neither is it experienced as emptiness. Rather the opposite. It unleashes a great surge of emptiness and vitality. And vitality. Interesting. So this is the concept, and I'll often share this with people. Sometimes the clients that I'm working with, or even for myself, there's times where it just feels like we're stuck, or it just feels that the mind in the state that we're in is concrete. And often I'll share the tool of just go into it. Let yourself be immediately and immensely immersed in the feeling. Don't resist it, just sink into it, and eventually something magical occurs. It's called we get bored, and we naturally shift out of the state. Now, in this shadow, when it is in the state or causing depression or deep, let's say even mental illness, it's not going to be as simple as just sitting with it and being with it for a couple hours and getting bored. I do understand that. But it is interesting that he talks about, when I say he, I'm talking about Richard, when someone allows themselves to completely go into this shadow without trying to fight it, without trying to figure it out, without trying to wonder why, it'll often do the opposite of what we think it was. It doesn't swallow us, it actually frees us. So that's really quite interesting. The reactive nature is extremist. If you have a reactive nature, then you will rebel against the dullness. These people do not accept the dullness either, but their nature is to escape through denial. They often hide behind a kind of vagueness, moving from one experience to another with no real sense of rhythm or purpose. Being extremists, they can find themselves in all kinds of diverse situations and places, but again, with no real directed sense of passion. These people are always on the move, never really able to commit to anything or anyone, running from their own shadows. Such people have a hidden rage within that prevents them from being with others for very long. Only when they see through their own patterns of reaction can they begin to accept what they are running from. Interesting. So I feel like we can probably, most of us, connect with these shadows in some way, shape, or form, just as all the other gene keys. But when we're looking at the shadow of dullness, it's like we are being consumed, if we're living in these states, by thought patterns, feelings, emotions, ideas, concepts that suppress our life force. And when that happens, when our life force isn't moving outwards into the world and isn't having a way to express itself, or in this case of the gene keys, attract what it is that we desire to be with and to be connected to. So it's very interesting. The 15th gift, magnetism, hitting the Schumann resonance. The 15th gene key is such a powerful portal into life's mysteries. It is one of the gene keys that bridges humans with other life forms, and in doing so, it connects us profoundly to the living spirit of nature, or Gaia. In 1977, a scientist by the name of Otto Schumann made a remarkable discovery. He mathematically predicted the exact frequency of the Earth's heartbeat within the electromagnetic spectrum. Vibrating at 7.8 hertz, this wavelength, called the Schumann resonance, is literally the vibrating pulse at the heart of all living organisms. This pulse binds us together as a single living organism. The 15th gene key represents the inner barometer when in the gift within your DNA to the Schumann resonance. All human disease comes because of disturbances between your individual electromagnetic field and this greater field that emanates from the earth. Whenever your frequency ceases to correspond to the Schumann resonance, you are out of kilter with your natural rhythms and the chemistry of your physiology experiences pressure and stress. One of the great challenges for modern humanity is to learn how to slow down. The Schumann resonance is a frequency oscillation that moves far more slowly than most human beings are used to, especially in our modern world. Time moves uniquely for all life on Gaia. She has never been in a hurry. The power of Gaia is the power of greenness. If we left our planet exactly as it was now for 1,000 years, our cities and roads would once again become green forests. That is the speed, power, and pace of Gaia. Since magnetism is the binding force of all creatures and forms, the more deeply you move into the Schumann resonance, the more magnetic you become. This is all about trusting in the natural ebb and flow of life's events. You can see how the agitation of the lower frequencies so easily experiences these slower frequencies as dullness. The fact is that when the frequency of your DNA hits the Schumann resonance, your experience of time stops completely. These are truths that are still experienced and embodied by many of the indigenous cultures alive on our planet today. To live closely to the Earth's natural rhythms is to experience the wisdom and clarity that comes from moving more slowly through the world. Wow, so the Schumann resonance and the frequency that all things connect to, that really when we're living in alignment to it, we become a part of the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and from Richard's words, Gaia. This is, I feel like, something that most of us really desire, to be connected, to be present, to be trusting of the moment, trusting of life in itself. It's so easy for us to talk about the divine, God, manifestation, abundance, spiritual law, all these things, and we can talk about them, but how many of us actually feel the trust and actually operate and move in a rhythm, in a frequency that allows these concepts to be grounded into our physicality and become part of our reality? So the gift of magnetism, from what I'm getting and when I feel it into it, is the gift of just being able to be one with the frequency, vibration, and essence of essentially the earth. So this, to me, when I feel into it, is about being grounded, being present, being connected. And like all the gene keys, this is really important. And I feel like maybe there's a reason why I took so long in between the 14th and 15th gene key to record them. Because this 15th gene key is also an activation, if we so allow it. And I'm really feeling, as I'm speaking and going into this, that we have an opportunity right now to ground into this 15th gene key, to ground into and feel and connect to the Schumann resonance, the frequency of the heartbeat of the earth. So as I'm talking, if you would like to just take a moment and really just sink and feel in the moment, feel into the vibration of your body, feeling connected and present and one with the earth. So there's nothing you need to do. You don't need to go outside. You don't need to be sitting barefoot and lying on the earth. No matter where you are, you're still connected to the earth. You're sitting on or standing on or surrounded by elements that come from the earth. and the frequency of the earth. So there's no need to think it needs to be a certain way. The goal here is to understand that us, you as a living being, are operating, if you so choose, you can tap in to the Schumann resonance. Now, please remember, whether this gene key is in your profile or not, it is a part of you. It is a part of you, and you and me and everyone else will benefit greatly by being in this frequency, operating in this frequency. So I invite you, if you want to, and I'm going to do it with you, to just allow the heartbeat, literally, of the earth right now enter into my physical body. And I'm just going to let my body go loose and limp and let go of all the wondering, confusion, day to day, how am I going to do this? What, any of those things, or what's happening next week, I'm just going to let it all go. I invite you to do the same, allowing that frequency of our Mother Earth to enter into your body. And knowing just how powerful this is, because if you allow this frequency into your body, this frequency will immediately shift what isn't in resonance. This is just energy. This is how things like this work. But your job and my job is to just let go and allow and trust and let it be simple. Our mind has nothing to do with this process, but our being has everything to do with this process. Beautiful. So when you open your eyes, or when you're done, if you did close your eyes, open them. I'm going to just read a little bit more here before we jump into the Siddhi. The real beauty of the 15th gift, however, lies in its acceptance of ordinariness. To experience life through this gift is, in the words of William Blake, to see heaven in a wildflower. It is to view the hologenetic vista of life as completely, exactly as it appears before you. To the 15th gene key, there can be no separation between the mystical and the mundane, because life is experienced as an immortal journey through all the mythic strands and stories of human culture. Through the 15th gene key, you stand amidst the mundane as a warrior. The most boring everyday issue can seem to you no less than an opportunity for personal transformation. The great spiritual trials are not met at the extremes, but in the everyday. In your relationships, while doing the dishes, cleaning the house, or going to work. This is the origin of the mystical saying that in order to find heaven, you must never need walk anywhere further than your own door. Wow. Magnetism is all about the power of aura. All life forms radiate bioenergetic energy fields, which interact with the environment through geometric laws. It is the 15th gift that unlocks the power of the aura to conduct and relay information between different forms. The more resonant your aura becomes with the Earth's natural frequencies, the wider your aura spreads, bringing you into contact with many of the hidden realities and kingdoms within nature. Eventually, as the frequency of your aura comes into perfect resonance, it interlocks the earth grid itself, and your consciousness expands exponentially, becoming one with Gaia and all creatures. Beautiful. So the 15th Siddhi is Fluorescence, the emergence of Shambhala. The 15th Siddhi is a quality known as fluorescence, a word that essentially refers to the process of bursting into flower. Each of the Siddhis, in fact, represents a process of fluorescence. That is what the higher self represents. Your ultimate flowering. Fluorescence cannot be chased, hurried, or enforced. It is a state that occurs to humans sporadically, meaning that no one can predict it or know when it will occur to a particular person. One thing alone is certain. We humans recognize it when it occurs in another. A person in whom consciousness is spontaneously flowing is a person surrounded by magic, by light, and by a tangible magnetic mystery. As the zenith of human magnetism, fluorescence manifests like a supernova through the human aura. And once it has begun, it keeps expanding and expanding into deeper and deeper dimensions. Beautiful. So, I think we're going to end it here for this exploration. Now, the 15th gene key, to summarize this, I feel like it is all about being present. When I look at it all or just feel it all and tap into something deeper, it really is about feeling ourselves as part of the one. And not through the mind, but through the body, through the moments, through each second, through each moment, seeing and being present with not just the beauty, but the power of the moment. And for many of us, we live in a culture and we live in a world which is go, go, busy, busy, do this, take our kids here, like all of these different things. But really, the most important thing that we can do is be present, more than all the external things we do. And I feel like we often get lost in the doing and the events and the going here, doing this, all these things where we're missing the opportunity to just be. So if you're somebody who doubts yourself for maybe not having your children in all these sports, or not going to family events and running with crowds and friends and this and that, I really invite you to maybe find that there's possibly something deeper you're tapping into. Perhaps there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you're actually feeling and living in this rhythm, and this 15th gene key perhaps is activated, and it's really just about your mind coming on board to see that. So some of you listening may already be connected to this, and some of you may have this in your profile and be really wanting to embody this more because it's a part of your bigger expression. So thank you so much for listening to this exploration of the 15th gene key, and I look forward to seeing you in the further explorations. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of the Gene Keys Exploration. If you would like to purchase the Gene Key Record Keeper, please go to www.genekeyrecordkeeper.com, or you can go to Amazon and search Gene Key Record Keeper, and you can purchase your very own copy of a sacred companion tool as you learn, track, and move through your gene keys. Have the most beautiful day, and we'll look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Bye-bye.